You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. It's the first Friday in the new year, a time when many of us set goals for ourselves, betterments, resolutions. In this digital age, perhaps your aim is to spend more time away from the screen and instead immersed in a good book, whether in person or perhaps you're reading on a tablet. No matter which way, you've tuned in at the right time if that's your goal, because this first Friday of the month, I'm joined by Chris Hall of McNally Robinson Booksellers with his picks in the January What to Read feature. Happy New Year, Chris.
Happy New Year, Simon.
How lovely it is to see you back in studio.
Thank you. Yes, it's great to be able to come in again.
Now, let me ask you this. Are you a resolutions guy yourself?
I'm not really, although I do feel myself organizing myself in the last week before the new year, get off to a good start, that sort of stuff. But my resolution is to continue reading.
Yeah, it's a good resolution. I think it's one of those that many of us have. And, let's start there then, because it is the latest edition of What to Read. And we're going to begin this new year with a new author, a debut.
A debut, yes. The novel is called Bad Cree. It's by Jessica Johns. And yes, she's brand new. But this book has been getting a lot of early attention and tells the story of Mackenzie. She's a young Cree woman, and she wakes up in her Vancouver apartment, and she's clutching a pine bough that she's just been holding in her dreams moments earlier. And she continues, she brings several items back from her dreams, and her life starts to really spiral a little bit into something like a nightmare as it goes along. Crows start following around, for example, and she starts getting texts from her dead sister. So she becomes desperate for try to figure things out. She calls upon her relatives in her small Alberta hometown, and together they try to uncover what's happening. So it's part horror novel, it's part literary novel, it's also an exploration of Indigenous tradition and belief mixed in there. And another good novel, very good novel from an Indigenous author.
Yeah, and I mean, we've had so many wonderful features of late through the What to Read. This a debut, though. Is it one of those that's... I mean, it just sounds so gripping. Does it read that way?
It does, yes. It's, there's that always push and pull between genre writing, that formula kind of writing, right, but the literary stuff that I love, which, grapples with ideas or something else. And so this is that combination. It pulls you along, but it's got lots going on as well.
Well, another debut next on the list by another Jessica, as it happens. Tell us more.
It's true. I'm in a rut already.
Yeah.
This is called Mame, but it's Maame, so I believe I pronounced it correctly, by Jessica George. Now, Maddie is the main character here, and she is living an unrewarding life in London. She's looking after her Parkinson's-afflicted father, and her mother spends most of her time back home in Ghana. They're new arrivals in England. So when her mother finally returns, Maddie takes the opportunity. She gets out. She starts to experience life, finds a flat to share for herself, and goes out for drinks with coworkers. But just when she starts to feel like her life is getting going in her own terms, tragedy strikes and she has to face the realities of her family. So it's a novel about the pressures of familial duty while trying to be independent. It's the complexities of love and all its variations, and while feeling torn between two homes, two cultures, a real push and pull and tension in her life. And I've said before, I like to read novels about people unlike myself, and this would qualify it. It's certainly a chance to imagine what life would be like in a completely different set of circumstances. And yet there's lots of familiarity, of course, as well. Families are families somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, we can all find those familiar threads, right? And I mean, when I was reading the description of this particular title, it was one of those that, highlights finding self and finding a place in the world, but also getting that other's perspective, which is exactly what you were just talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. And new arrivals, I can imagine, you just get everything you thought you knew torn apart over. So after a couple of new authors, the next one is the latest from a lauded MacArthur winner, a Genius Grant winner, Alexander Hamon. Tell us more about that. Yes, the title is The World and All That It Holds. He made a big splash with The Lazarus Project, which is his first novel, got all of our attention. He's written 3 sets of short stories since, 2 collections of essays. He's always doing very interesting writing. And this new novel contains 2 young Bosnian friends, Pinto and Osman. One is Jewish, the other Muslim. and they continue to be friends through some of the most tumultuous times imaginable. They live in Sarajevo when the Archduke Franz Ferdinand is assassinated there, and it launches the First World War. And so they go immediately into the front lines and endure that. They end up in a prison camp with the Russian army. Then they live a life as refugees. The novel is gritty. It's chaotic. They are constantly in the middle of things. They have no idea what's going on. It's really got it's an interesting place to be as a reader, I have to say. But they're just always finding the humor and the hope in this life. Pinto at one point says, "There's always somewhere to go," and I just got stuck with me. And it's such hope in the middle of awful conditions sometimes.
It sounds really fascinating.
It is
fascinating. And it really kind
yeah.
of, again, puts us into a place. And in addition to being a novelist and an essayist, Alexander Haymon, he's also a television and screenwriter, and I didn't realize, but he has credits on the latest Matrix, The Matrix Resurrections. Is there something almost cinematic about his novels?
Yes, cinematic, although, you know what, I kept thinking, I can almost smell this world that he's creating.
Way.
Like, it is really, the grittiness of it is, it's powerful, this world that he creates. And you may not want to be in the middle of it.
But you're going to be.
But you're going to be.
Yeah, you're going to be. Now, admittedly, that was also a bit of a leading question to segue us to our next title. Can you cue this one up?
Yes, this one is a new mystery, something for the mystery fans. It's called The Motion Picture Teller.
Yeah, there it is.
And it is by Colin Cottrell. So this is he is the author of the Dr. Siri mystery series, if you're familiar with that. But this one is a standalone, so if you want to get introduced, here you go. It's set in Thailand in 1996, and Supot, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's a postman, and his best friend Ali, he's the owner of a video store, and they escape the challenges of life by watching classic movies together. And a mysterious cassette, if anyone remembers video cassettes, arrives. It's entitled Bangkok 2010, and the two friends immediately agree it's the best Thai movie they have ever seen. But they can't find anybody else who's ever heard of it. Nobody's ever heard of the movie, the director, the actors, any of the crew, and so Supot ends up kind of obsessed. He journeys deep into the countryside of Thailand, and he's trying to figure out why powerful people are dead set on keeping this film buried. So it's a mystery. It doesn't have a crime at its center, or at least as it's starting out. There's certainly the possibility of something criminal going on, but it's a bit of it doesn't have the crime at the center the way most mysteries do.
Yeah. I'm looking at this month's picks in what to read, and there's plenty of fiction, some very thrilling titles, and you've kind of really taken us around the world, and we've got one more stop.
Yes.
Where are we up to next?
Well, this is The Tomb of Sand by Geetanjali Shree, and this is the winner of the 2022 International Booker Prize, and this is the version of the Booker Prize that's given to works of translation into English. So not the main prize we think of, but still a very good books come from this. And this is the book's first release in North America, so it's brand new for us. It's a family drama with a twist. 80-year-old Ma slips into depression after the death of her husband, and there's nothing her children and grandchildren can do to get her out of bed. Until that is one day her grandson brings his grandmother a sparkling golden cane. It's covered with butterflies, and suddenly Ma has a new lease on life. She gets out of bed, she embarks on a series of adventures that women her age are simply not supposed to do. And the novel's fun, it's funny, but it's exploring serious themes. It's about the borders we place on ourselves and others, and how challenging those definitions can sometimes open up life to unexpected and wonderful things. It's a nice combination of a novel.
Yeah, some wonderful picks, as always, Chris. A diversity of options, all within kind of one genre, but really bouncing around fiction here. As we were talking about last month when you were in, very few books in tow or tote. You've got your McNally Robinson tote here with you, because these are books that are kind of yet to be released, right?
Yet to be released, yeah. COVID changed our marketing strategy a little bit. I mean, the physical newsletter we used to do forced us to have books that we could change the display, whereas online marketing allows us to kind of change on little bit by little bit. So every day you come into the store, it's going to be slightly different because of the new releases, which actually follows the nature of the book business pretty well. I'm enjoying this. But for what to read, I'm kind of talking about books that are going to be released.
yeah.
So over the next few weeks, you'll be able to find these books. You always put your name down if you want to call when it does arrive. So.
Yeah, what to read yet to come. Not so
Yes,
much
right.
Christmas present here, but
That's true. It's
to
what you're
paraphrase.
going to read.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
gone to the future
that.
tense.
And speaking of things coming up, the other thing too about when we're returning to kind of our routines and finding things again, a community classroom picking up again at McNally Robinson, things
Yeah.
getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah,
always stuff to check out.
Making plans for events, and there's going to be some good stuff. I'm phrasing it that we're able to do most of what we want to do now.
Yeah.
And it's different from what we used to do, but yeah, what we want to do, we get to do now.
Well said. So if you're looking for new reads, if that happens to be part of your resolution, McNally Robinson, the place to go. If you're looking to learn something new, McNally Robinson, the place to go. And if you're looking for new wares or, I don't know, a new sweater, as,
Very nice,
as I'm
Simon.
sporting here. Yes, thank you. It was a very cozy Christmas gift from my wife. I guess she heard me talking about these McNally Robinson sweaters in our previous conversations. I will say it does make reading more comfortable if you want to use that for your marketing,
we
Chris.
thought we would call it reading wear.
Yeah, exactly. So here we are on radio with Reading Wear and a whole bunch of new picks from Chris Hall of McNally Robinson Booksellers. Great seeing you as
Nice to
always,
see you.
Chris.